now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with a wonderful gentleman whose band is based out of New York City, but currently vacationing in a really nice area. And with the fire going in, and where he's at, it just makes me want to go there. So this gentleman here is part of the goth rock band, which is called the FMs. And these guys are bringing back the days of glam rock, similar to David Bowie, Sweet T-Rex, and more. And you got a new single out, and they've been kind of touring the area, and they've got a very unique sound, which he'll tell you all about. And ladies and gentlemen, live from somewhere which is really easy to spot, and this fire just makes it really inviting, makes me want to go down there and talk to him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the FM's Matt Namer. Matt, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thanks so much for having me on your show. It's really exciting to do this with you. I'm really happy to be broadcasting to you down from the Big Easy in New Orleans, which is where I'm currently at. And I'm lucky to be staying at this beautiful chateau here. It's a sex-positive community, and it's a bunch of my friends staying down at this house together, this like big, beautiful mansion. I have a wonderful fireplace behind me and a nice little human cage behind me as well. Yeah, it's just so great to be here. So great to get to talk to you about what the FMs have been up to, and really excited to dive into the heart of it.
Sounds amazing, too. And what do the FMs stand for, and how'd you guys come up with the name?
The FMs are actually not related to FM radio, which is what people often think. But yeah.
I was thinking Steely Dan at first, but I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah,
the anti-Steely Dan, of course. So go ahead, you're saying.
Yeah, I don't have like too many thoughts one way or the other about Steely Dan. I guess Steely Dan's all right. But so the FM stands for female males. The whole concept of the band really is around it was really themed around gender fluidity and the duality of gender, and kind of playing with that and messing with it. I identify as gender queer, and I'm like an assigned male at birth person. The other lead singer of the band, Frankie Rex, identifies as trans and was an assigned female at birth, and now identifies as male. So both of us kind of come at the gender fluidity, gender queerness, trans spectrum of gender from different places, and sort of meet in the middle and cross. And we thought that was a really interesting thing to play up in the concept of our band, having our two voices come together and really be the two voices on the albums. We also sort of then realized that, hey, FMs could be kind of a cool additional acronyms like the FEMS, or the, I guess I'm not allowed to like curse on radio, but a word that starts with F, me sillies.
or like flip me sillies, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of where the name came from. And a lot of our music really themes around gender fluidity, themes about sex positivity, themes around kink. And we really like to talk about a lot of that stuff. We really like to talk about where we're going with the society, hopefully becoming more sexually open, more inclusive of the different gender spectrums. And yeah, like how society fits into that. So
that was amazing too. And of course, you describe yourselves as androgynous, analog goth rock, menacing hymns of future zeitgeist. So you can just tell us about that. I mean, I've studied that stuff before. It's like interesting. Let's hear about your version of it.
Yeah, sure. I think it's kind of always a bit of a challenge to describe yourselves, right? Sometimes I feel like art isn't really meant to be like fully understood or appreciated through language, but it's almost like a necessary evil, right? We kind of like have to figure out some way to explain ourselves. So I think like we just kind of have a little bit of fun with the way we describe ourselves. We like it to kind of be a little silly, a little over the top. So yeah, like the one way that we've described ourselves as androgynous analog goth rockers. I don't know that like we necessarily fit fully into the genre of goth rock. I think that it's definitely an element of what we do, but it's probably like not even 50% of the elements. It's maybe even more like 20% of what we're about. We do like to mix up our genres. I think that like really the only way that you can really understand what we're about is to obviously go and listen to the music and to see our music videos to kind of get a sense of where we're at aesthetically in addition to musically. Yeah, that's sort of like how we've described ourselves. I think also, too, we are evolving as a band. And the stuff that we were creating on our first album was great. But also we've taken our music to a new direction as we're working on our second album. And I'm excited that I think people will recognize it's definitely a clear evolution. It's definitely a clear... I think what I always try to strive for, what I've always appreciated in bands, is when you can tell that from album to album it's still the same band, but you can pick any song off that album and know which album it belongs to. So then the album itself kind of really becomes like an artistic statement as a whole at that point.
And, of course, you also take 1970s glam rock to a whole new level. And it's a really interesting concept, mixing goth with 70s glam. You can just tell us about that. Just taking glam to a whole new level. It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I think that we like to... I in particular like to really express my femininity, like to express my sexuality, like to express my kinkiness, like to express my queerness, like to express my just overall absurdness as well as those things. And I think people kind of associate a lot of that with glam, right? Like there's a strong association between like a guy getting up on stage in like a wig and like dressing in female dress and glam rock. I don't think we really sound too much like glam rock, but I think stylistically people may associate us with that. So I honestly feel like that definition of glam rock is kind of like I don't know necessarily how I feel too strongly about the glam rock thing, but I think that what we write is that it's kind of like a contemporary nihilist take on glam rock, which I think kind of resonates with me. Yeah.
It sounds like you're putting a unique sound together and looking to be groundbreaking. So we'll talk about your your new single coming up, as well as you have featured in a Showtime film. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show, themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with the FM's Matt Namer, who's down in New Orleans enjoying the Big Easy by Nice Fire. And this group is on fire as well, too, with their new single called Implosion Model. You can just tell us all about that.
Yeah, Implosion Model was a single off our first album, which was written about the creation of the atomic bomb in the 1940s and how the scientific intellectual community came together at the time to basically create the world's most horrific weapon, which they felt was a necessary evil at the time. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really interesting, this whole concept of a necessary evil, how something like World War II sparked the biggest, deepest thinkers of the time, the biggest people in the scientific community, the intellectual community, to like really all come together to make the most horrific thing the world had ever seen, which may one day wipe humanity off the face of the planet, right? So I thought that was really interesting and wanted to write a song about it. After we released that song, it really got a lot of interest. People really enjoyed it. We had it mixed by Mike Riley, who mixed a lot of Marilyn Manson records. And we made a video for it, which has like almost had about 1 million views between YouTube and Facebook. So it really took off. And what's interesting about it is it kind of like created a little bit of controversy online. It's kind of a little surprising to us, but there was really a lot of like backlash from corners of the internet around just our very brazen gender fluidity, and people kind of saying like, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't be like expressing all this gender fluidity if you're going to be talking about a different issue. And the way we felt about it at the time was just, this is who we are. We're just expressing ourselves. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're talking about something else. But just because like we're gender fluid and we like to dress this way and be this way, doesn't mean this is all we need to ever talk about, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting, the different, and of course we got a lot of support as well on the internet. So if you kind of look through the comment feeds of those videos, it's like you'll see some ridiculous, like outrageous, homophobic, misogynist, like just horrible stuff. But then a lot of like really beautiful, supportive comments and people kind of coming together to sort of, you know, say, hey, you know, that's not what this is about. This isn't, you know, you totally have the wrong idea about the way you're expressing your actions. But unfortunately, there's a lot of hateful people out there on the internet. Mm-hmm. I'm just happy to provoke a response, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think if I enjoy when people hate my music, like really, really hate it. I really enjoy that, actually. I really think that it's
surprise.
Like, yeah, no, I don't think I love it as much as when people like really, really love it, obviously, but it's like a close second, honestly. I really do. I do love when people like really legitimately hate it. Because it also is just super amusing. People are so passionately like hating the stuff you're putting out. It's great.
That gives me an idea. Maybe I'll find a way one day to get people to hate the Mike Wagner Show. You got any suggestions other than talking about like, you know, a nuclear explosion or whatever else you talk about?
I think the obvious way, right, is like politics, right? Like if you pick a political side, and hopefully you wouldn't pick the alt-right side, right? But like if you pick a political side and just get really really dig your heels in with that, I'm sure you'll get quite a lot of haters.
But then you talk about New Orleans, it'd be a different story. But then if you get me to talk about politics, let me get back to you on that one. So, and of course, you got some other interesting songs, too. You got Poke Me, Trinity, Extender, and also Eyes Are Suffering. And Eyes Are Suffering is a really unique one. You can just talk about that one along with some of your other songs.
Sure. Eyes Are Suffering was a single that we came out with after our first record, Makina Scene Epic. And Eyes Are Suffering is a darker song. It's kind of definitely more in the gothier industrial arena. That song is actually, I think, our most popular song on Spotify right now. And it's basically about people... it's kind of a call to action, really. And it's a call to really take responsibility for your own ignorance. Mm-hmm. The lyric to the song is "Eyes are suffering in the darkness." So when you are only allowing yourself to see the darkness of the world, you're not allowing yourself to really dive into everything that's there. You're not really allowing yourself to learn about the world, to really take care, to understand the people in it, to understand the problems in it, to understand like what your role is in it and how you can help that thing, help these things, that you will suffer, your eyes will suffer, your spirit will suffer. And it's just a general call to action, I think. And it's been interesting because there's been a lot of different interpretations of it. It's always fun when, somebody reads your lyrics and then kind of draws something else out of it that you hadn't quite thought of. I think that's like kind of a really beautiful thing about music and lyrics in general, is people can kind of create their own meaning to these pieces of art.
That sounds interesting, too. And you also were featured on National 11, Showtime's Fluidity. You can just tell us about that and tell us about the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really exciting for us. It was the first feature film that we've been featured in, and we actually got to have a performance in the film. We're kind of the band that's playing in the club of the final scene of the movie, which is really fun to do. It was a blast to do that film shoot. We had like 100 extras in this club and shooting, us playing our song "Change Your Mind Up" to this audience. The song that we performed in the movie, "Change Your Mind Up," is really an anti-patriarchy anthem. It's really a call to men to really kind of look at themselves and to really address their behavior and their role in the world. And it fit really nicely into this movie because the movie is kind of about the zeitgeist that we live in right now. It's about millennials. It's about social media. It's about gender fluidity. It's about sexuality. It's about urban living. So it's kind of interesting to be able to perform that song for that movie. And we got to work with director Linda Yellen, who's a total legend in her own right. She's directed and written and produced such like amazing films over the years. And she, was really a pleasure to work with. And we filmed this movie like 2 years ago or something, and then kind of didn't think about it much. And then one day it was out on Showtime. And so now you can actually screen the movie on Showtime on demand. And it's just really cool to get to have the FMs on Showtime.
That is amazing, too. We'll have to check it out. We'll talk about your upcoming album in just a minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with the FM's Matt Namer. He's down in New Orleans right now talking about the new single Implosion Mall, and also hello out there, from New Orleans and everywhere. And in fact, you come down and join Matt in his little Adobe too. So you just have to be a little careful and everything. Just don't wreck the place. And also too, the group's been in Showtime's Fluidity. And before we talk about your upcoming album, who are some of your big influences that shaped your sound, and what artists and favorite singers did you enjoy growing up?
It's a great question. So many is the short answer. But I think that, I've definitely always been really steeped in the kind of goth industrial tradition. Nine Inch Nails is always a traditional favorite, but from there, that whole world really branches out into so many delicious creations. Some modern artists that I feel like have been really influential to me. I would say Trent Mahler, who's a Danish producer and really just has this incredible career of music that he's made over the past decade or so. Definitely one of my favorite producers. I'm really into the Soft Moon, which is another kind of modern industrial band on that in that tip. But lately, actually, and I'd say that our first album is kind of heavier, darker, faster. The music that we're working on right now, it's kind of branching out from there. It's really taking a big jump away from the goth industrial world and kind of more towards a direction. It's like even harder to explain exactly what it is, but it's definitely a little softer. It's a little more intimate. It's a little more personal. And I'd say some modern influences are perhaps more people like Sharon Von Etten's latest album, which I'm really a giant fan of. Been really listening to a lot of Charlotte Gainsbourg's latest album. So there's a lot of different influences. I've always been a huge fan of pretty much everything that Maynard James Keenan has ever done. I think he's like one of my favorite vocalists, and I love all his projects. I love Tool. I love Perfect Circle, Pucifer. I'd say that probably even like Pucifer, which is probably his least well-known project, has been the most influential to me and to us in our music making. But there's so many influences. Vast is another like pretty obscure band that both Frankie and I are huge fans of and have been listening to together since high school. Frankie and I, by the way, it's kind of worth noting, we're in each other's first band in high school.
Oh, wow.
And have been playing music together since we were about 15 years old. And been listening to bands like Vast together for that long. So, a lot of different influences. David Bowie, we mentioned glam rock earlier. Obviously a huge influence. I think what's really cool about David Bowie in general, and just what is absolutely unique about him, is that he, started making music in 1967, stopped making music, I guess, in 2016, was it? And just didn't ever stop putting out like new, brilliant, interesting music. So you got like a 50-something year span there. And just, like not every little thing he did was like my favorite, but over a course of like 50 years, there's just so much there that is just so incredible. And tons of 80s music too. We really love the whole decade of the 80s, so hard to even like start where we would like dig into that stuff. But Depeche Mode and The Cure are some obvious places to dive into there. Joy Division's a big thing they were into. So yeah, you know, a lot of different influences, and different influences for like different phases of our evolution, I would say as well.
Mm-hmm. How about Henry Rollins from Black Flag? He's one of the big influences from that area too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't dislike Henry Rollins. I don't dislike Black Flag, but honestly, I definitely wouldn't say they're really like an influence for us. I think definitely like punk. I actually think that my favorite punk band is definitely the Dead Kennedys for sure. I love Jello Biafra. I love the way he sings. I love like all the weird stuff the Dead Kennedys do, but like, I don't listen to a ton of punk, but like when I do, it's usually the Dead Kennedys. I love the Dead Kennedys.
You know, it's my favorite. I was dating somebody who was in the Dead Kennedys. This is like way long time ago. And one of the favorite songs I have to say was, awesome. What was it? I Fought the Law and I Won. I think that was one of my favorites. I fought the law and I won.
He's so great. I love Jello Biafra. I actually got a chance to work with this guy that engineered some of the Lard records. Jello Biafra had a project with the guys from Ministry. I think Al Jorgensen's his name. And,
from Chicago, yes.
Yeah. And we got to have him mix some of our songs, which is pretty cool. So got a connection there too. But yeah, I think like punk was definitely a bit of a thing that we mixed into our first record, and it's not super present on our second record. Probably more in the post-punk arena, if anything. You know, like a bit more of the shoegazy post-punk stuff, a bit more of the Joy Division type of stuff, a bit more of the My Bloody Valentine, maybe even kind of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing too. And of course, you know, besides having a big fan base in New York City, what are some of your other big fan bases like throughout the world? Like, say, you talked about you worked with a guy from Denmark, and what are some other cities that have drawn like the most attention, like from your music, getting the most hits?
That's a great question. I can't like necessarily point to one place where I'm like, yeah, we're, you know, big in New York City where we're from, and also like randomly in the Philippines or something. We're really big in the Philippines. It'd be really funny if we could say that, right? But that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. I think that people, you know, find us in all different kinds of ways. You know, we've had like different kinds of media that we've been able to be exposed to. You know, there might be somebody that's listening to your show right now in Saskatchewan, Canada, or Mexico, or you know, somewhere in Western Europe, and you know, they might be listening to the show and say, "Well, this sounds kind of interesting," and like check us out, and then be our fan, right? And be like a fan that we now have in like Prague, or we have a fan in Poland, or wherever. And so I don't think that, you know, can't necessarily say there's like, yeah, a giant community of people in like Fort Lauderdale or something. I'm just keep naming random places. But yeah, I think we do have and you know, it's just kind of a wonderful part of the way that we live in the world today is that there's a smattering of fans like everywhere, and they find you in different ways, and they find you on the wonderful world of the World Wide Web.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something too. And any plans for an upcoming tour?
I think that right now we are focusing on finishing our second album, which we're all super excited about. We've actually been spending an absurd amount of time on it, just really tweaking it and getting it right. And I got to say, I'm really excited about putting it out. We've been working on it for 2.5 years. And
amazing.
I've spent like about 1,000 hours so far working on it, which, you know, by the days of the Beatles, like Please Please Me, when they spent like 14 hours making that record. is kind of absurd. But yeah, we've already spent like 1,000 hours on it, but I'm really proud of where it's going, and that's really our focus right now. And once we release that album, we're definitely going to do a bunch of touring for it.
And when's the anticipated release?
We don't have a release date yet, but I think that we're probably 6 months or so away from that ish.
Okay.
It's not something that we're luckily like not beholden to, some contract or something or some financial thing where we have to release it by a certain time. It's really more about getting it right. And that to me is the main goal, is the main thing that matters, is just making sure that content is really something that you feel proud of putting out.
That was amazing. We're looking forward to that. And just a couple more things here. And we know you're very busy out there, so we'll like to have you back on soon. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Biggest influence in my career. It's a great question. The way you asked it, I am thinking that it doesn't necessarily have to be a musician, right? It can be anyone.
It can be anybody. That's fine. I didn't say, a musician, anything like that. Just anybody in general. It can be, say, mom and dad, your dog, or whatever. So, or make up somebody.
I think what I'd say is that I have always been really fascinated by people who take any genre of art and really expand the potential of it. So I'll give you an example of what I mean, right? Like the obvious sort of like traditional answer to that would be somebody like Andy Warhol, who was like a painter, but then became a cultural icon and got really involved with music and sort of created a whole world around him. He's not somebody that I would like say is like a particular influence or somebody whose art I really resonate with or anything like that, but just like an example of somebody who's really crossing mediums to really expand the boundaries of their own focus medium. One person that came to mind, one person that came to mind was Marilyn Manson, who, the reason I bring him up is I think in the mid-90s or so, when Marilyn Manson was really in the forethought of our culture, was really using his platform to give like a giant FU to conservative America, and really did a giant service to opening people's minds up to all kinds of things. So I think that, him creating this character, really like having a real, he's not somebody that you think of like having this very special like mission with their artwork, but I actually feel that his like the function that he served in the mid-90s just culturally was really cool, and something that I really admire and gravitate to. I think that like when you can really step into the role, like you're a musician, but you're also like really changing the way that the culture thinks about things, and really kind of using your platform to help open up people's minds, which is what I think he successfully did in like the mid-90s or so, mid to late 90s. That's really cool. That's something that I would aspire to do in 2019, and it'll be like a different way. It won't be the way that he did it in the mid-90s. It'll be a way that we do it today. And I think that like one way that we can do that is by really talking about sex positivity and opening and gender fluidity. I think those are topics that are really important today, and that's something that people are really starting to come around with and open their minds to right now.
And of course, your group, the FM, simply want to save the world by.
Is it without being dicks about it?
Yeah.
You made me say it. You made me say it. You had to make me say it, huh? All right.
Well, that's just one of the big things that you're out to do. We're glad you're doing something about making things unique. What's the best advice you give to anybody at this point?
I think the best advice that I can give to anybody at this point is going to sound really, it's going to sound really earnest, but it's actually like true in the way I feel right now in this time, which is that you receive the love that you put out into the world. So the sooner that you can lift your fear around giving others love, the sooner that you will end up receiving love back. And that, I think, is just really how the world works. And that concept can really be applied to anything. It can be applied to becoming a musician. You know, if you really open yourself up to people, if you really put yourself out there, if you really express yourself, your true self without fear, that people are going to resonate with that. You know, if you feel, you know, if you open yourself up to building a community of people that you can work with to achieve your goals, you're going to get to those goals a lot faster. So that's just some Maddie wisdom, I guess.
That was amazing, too. And, of course, once again, we have the FM's Matt Namer, talking about the new single, Implosion Model, the upcoming album. And before we go here, while you enjoy staying in New Orleans, tell us about your upcoming projects once again, your website, how do people contact you, and where can people find your music? Yeah,
absolutely. Our website is thefmsmusic.com. That's a good place to start. You can find us on Spotify if you search for The FMs. So that's the FMS. You can also find us on Instagram. Our handle is @TheFMs. We're on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/TheFMsmusic. We'll have some shows coming up in November in New York City. And stay tuned for more releases. We're going to be releasing a music video soon for Change Your Men Up. That'll probably be happening in November. We haven't set a release date yet for that, but we're really excited that that'll be around the corner. Really excited to show that to the world. And stay tuned with us. You know, we'd like to have you as a fan for the next few years or decades.
Sounds great. We're looking forward to doing that. And Matt, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you on soon. And do us a favor, keep us up to date, and have fun in New Orleans.
Thanks, Mike. It was really wonderful to have you on your show, and really appreciative, and look forward to coming back soon. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program and or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.